Welcome back to our campsite Priestess Tales, and joining me today is the wonderful Angie Twydall from the Sanctuary of Sophia. Hello, Angie.
Hi, Demi. Lovely to see you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. And Angie is here today around our metaphorical campfire, ooh, nice and warm, to share some stories about her own path of priestessing and what it means to be well, tell us, Angie, what kind of priestess are you? What do you do in the world?
What do I do in the world? Well, my latest title, or if you want to call it a title, is Womb Witch,
Mhm.
because I tend to be a bit of a shapeshifter, a bit of a morpher, a bit of a go where the energy flows. So yeah, Womb Witch is the title that seems to be used for me at the moment. So what do I do in the world? I help heal women's wounds. That's me, succinctly.
Succinctly, she heals the wombs of women.
Actually, yes, full on work, busy work.
Yeah, she's very good at it too. So,
Mm.
leaning into that shapeshifter edge, I'm always really interested by
Mm.
how we have this idea of, oh, I am something and I am one thing forever, but actually it always shifts and changes. So I'd love to hear about what other shapeshifty phases you've had on your priestess journey, because I don't think we ever
Yeah,
in one
I
thing.
mean, my shape shifting journey went from very high powered, established job to a healing crisis. So my womb healing journey was endometriosis, which 1 in 10 women had, and that was basically they wanted to take my womb out when I was 32. So I didn't want that to happen at all. So that was my quest. That was my nudge from Goddess. Get out there, sort yourself out, find out what you're really here for. And that probably took 3 or 4 years to actually retrain in therapies, basically. That's what I did. So I was being nudged all the way along. But the biggest transformation was moving from Kent, where I was born, where I grew up, to Glastonbury, Avalon. And the transition there was, it was portals. It's portals. It's all about where the energy is. And clients and women in Kent, it was a bit like walking in treacle. It would take you sort of 6 to 10 sessions before magic happened.
Mhm.
And when I moved to Glastonbury, Avalon, and dreamt in a place where therapists could work, priestesses could work in beautiful surroundings, in sacred space, honoring the divine feminine. That was the vision for Goddess House. And that was my mission there while I was there, which was a period of 5 to 6 years. So, yeah, and the magic, the key to the shape shifting and healing for women was literally having that set up, being in a safe space that was beautiful, that they could then relax in, and the magic happened in one session. So that was a shift in my priestessing to sort of plodding to wow, full on, full power.
Wow, that's amazing. So the energy of I understand because like I'm a Glastonbury traveler myself, and the energy of Glastonbury is so different. So when people were in that environment and space where there is this different energy, it just shifted things so much quicker.
Yeah, and what I used to notice when I was traveling there,
Yeah.
um, my womb would always pull. I'd feel a pulse, a dragging, as though I was going to bleed early. So
Mhm.
there's something about the womb healing and the energies of Avalon. The fact, obviously, it was an isle of water. It's a holding, it's in a bowl. The actual town itself, as you know, is
Mhm.
held like this in the chalice. So it's all to do with reclaiming our feminine power. But this is globally, it's not just us in Avalon,
Mhm.
it's women everywhere being able to connect to that energy of new earth, waking up, actually acknowledging we have got this portal of power inside us that patriarchy have jumped over in their chakra system. There's nothing mentioned about the womb at all
Mhm.
because she is so magical, so mysterious, so powerful, but especially when we're bleeding. So yeah, that's that's the weave, that's the magic.
I love that piece. I thing with Avalon is there is this very there's like this stereotype of the Avalonian priestess, and she's like dressed in blue and navy and misty, and she's very like calm and peaceful and devoted and all this stuff. And she's very this kind of chakra energy. But my experience of Avalon, the longer I've been going there and returning and doing trainings and just kind of chilling on the land, and literally when for years, whenever I went to Avalon, the first thing I had to do was lie on the earth and put my womb on the earth. Like I'd be lying in people's kitchens doing that for years.
Go to
I,
Chalice Hill. That's where you're meant to lie on the womb.
do you know what I feel like the forgotten quiet edge of Glastonbury, not quiet, but this whole vision is overlaying what I think is real, which is Avalon is womb witch, pussy witch heaven. It holds that big, shifty, awakening-y, big, sexy womb energy. And that's what I think.
It's layers. It's the layers of everything. I mean, people who haven't maybe visited it first time, just on the surface looking, just looking at the people on the street. They are from all walks of life, all different money, all different work, all different jobs, all different belief systems. And it is that cauldron of that brew. And of course, there's an underbelly. There's the actual dark side, shadow side that can be denied and spiritually bypassed and just you know, that you're talking about. But really, that's not the work that's needed. The work is needed is to look at that shadow and embrace it and bring it in, not deny it at all. So yeah, weaving in that magic of Avalon, wherever we are, is actually the transformation. That is the key, the transformation for ourselves as women, but particularly for me, it's the healing. The healing is the right place at the right time with the right people with you, the right energetics, the right portals, all of that. So yes, I said I was living there, and living there and visiting are two different things. Living there is much more intense, and as much as I love everyone, I can't afford to take an hour to walk up the high street and say hi everyone, and everyone's in their process. Everyone's in their process the whole time. So just before lockdown, my family, husband and I, animals, moved to Exmoor, which is where we are now. And I've got my own healing temple, my sanctuary. And for this deep trauma work, I need to be clear. I need to be able to come back to my own centre quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be totally drained. So as a priestess, that's something we learn, you know, to be a clear channel. But when you're living in such a river, a moving, flowing river, it's hard to hang on to the sides of the banks. You just get taken with it. So where I live now, I can just really be connected to the earth and the sky, you know, earth, or all the elements actually, earth, fire, water and air. Whereas when I was in Glastonbury, I was birthing all the time, birthing new ideas, birthing courses, birthing. But it's also a place of ideas that can't be birthed. So a lot of the women I see are very much in air. They've got the ideas and they're just up here, beautiful creatives, but can't ground it and earth it. So I think the whole work as a priestess is to honor all those elements and bring them all together and be able to flick between them all the time. So yeah, I'm very earthed. I'm talking to you here now in my body. I can be very fiery. I love the fire. I love talking around the cauldron. But I can be very air. And water, I can cry at the drop of a hat, you know, that. And that's what's needed. We all need to be able to weave through, not just be one thing. That's the magic. That's the balance of being a womb witch. Yeah.
I love it. So Angie, would you be willing to share some stories about your time priestessing, things you've done, things that went wrong, things that went fabulously, things that went fabulously? What stories have you got for us?
Probably, well, for me, one of the most interesting stories is a sideline from my healing. Apart from being a womb witch, I'm also a sacred bee priestess. So one year during Goddess Conference, it was noticed that there were bees in the walls of the Goddess Hall. So for me, this is an absolute blessing to have bees. So bees is a whole nother lineage, a whole nother, well, they're a sacred animal of Avalon, but also so many different lineages around the world. Goddesses are shown in artwork with the bee. So for me, the bee being part of the goddess hall, part of the goddess temple, was, wow, what a blessing to have that there. But those who were running at the time decided no, they didn't want bees there. They were going to call local council and get them taken out. So in other words, poisoned or smoked out. So instantly I knew I had to do something. So I called a prayer circle, and several priestesses gathered with me, and we just connected to the energy of the bee, connected to them and said, you have got to leave, you've got to leave. And we were there in that prayer circle, saying our prayers, doing our incantations, visualizing it happening. So that manifestation, doing candle magic. So it happened. The next day, they swarmed. And the happy ending of the story is, as a beekeeper, I had all the bee suits, I had all the gear. I collected that swarm with the help of a friend who was staying with us at the time. And it was conveniently halfway up a tree in the Goddess Hall Gardens. So ladder up the tree, get the swarm. And I've still got that swarm of bees with me now, the hive. It's called the Avalon Hive. It's still here.
Oh, the bees from the temple.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's amazing.
So there's a whole thread of that. The whole thread of that is when I moved from Kent to Glastonbury, to Avalon, I didn't have my bees. So when I was in Kent, I had 10 hives. This was a hobby that went a bit ballistic. You know, when you're in the flow, it just happens. The abundance just overflows. And in the southeast of England, hot, sunny, very different to damp, wet, misty Avalon. So it's not fair on the bees moving their climates. They don't adjust and adapt. And also my husband didn't fancy having beehives in the back of the car, traveling at least 4 hours, going on. So we gave them to another beekeeper in Kent. And when I first came to Avalon, I didn't have bees. And because I was so intrinsically connected to them energetically, they came to me in dream time. So I had about a whole year of constant messages at 4 o'clock in the morning, where you probably had this too. You just wake up and you have to write it down or voice record what comes through. And that was a really magical time. So the lesson there was, don't feel you have to grasp and hang on to what you've got. It's okay to let things go. And in that letting go, the Bee Oracle deck came. So that's a channeled deck that's now out there in the world, but also different trainings, sacred bee priestess training, online trainings, in-person retreats, all focused on the bee. So after a year, I started getting called out to collect swarms again in Glastonbury. So then I built up my hives again and did move them. I did bring them here to Exmoor because it's just as wet, just as damp, just as windy. And they were in the back of my car, and some of them did escape, but it was all fine.
Wow, that's amazing. Bees and the magic, the bees coming in through your work. That's incredible.
Yeah, and people say to me quite often, what is the connection between wombs and bees? It seems like two completely polar opposite, but it's not. It's all to do with the shape and sound, vibration, the energy of the bees and the energy of our wombs. And yeah, that's what it's all about. So it, on a superficial level and quickly, that's the similarity. Yeah.
Awesome. Angie, you know I'm very greedy. Do you have another story you can share with me?
Another story. Particularly about what? What would you like the focus to be?
Oh.
So many stories, darling.
Let's have something woomy.
Something woomy. Oh, so working at Goddess House. One year I wasn't a ceremonialist. I was literally working and running the spa for Goddess House. We had lots of women coming in for wound treatments. And there was one woman who was Japanese, Chinese. She was from East Asia. So our communication was quite difficult because obviously I don't speak that language, not obviously, but I don't speak any of her language. She spoke a little bit of English. So we were working away, and quite often during sessions, I start speaking in channeled language, light language will come through. And it's not a high frequency light language, it's quite shamanic, quite bass. And so I was working on her, and this came through. And at the end of the session, she said to me, "Oh, I didn't realize you spoke Japanese or whatever the language was." And I said, "No, I don't. I don't at all. No one's ever said that before." And I'm laughing at it now. And I said, "Oh, well, what did I say?" And she said to me, "Oh, you told me to go away and dye my hair green." So what a crazy thing to come through when you're channeling. So
Wow.
yeah, take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. That's just one of those crazy things that comes out in treatments. Yeah.
Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us around our internet campfire. If people want to find you on the internet, how can they hunt you down, Angie?
They can hunt me down. The main place is on my website, which is sanctuaryofsophia.co.uk. There's all the usual socials, Instagram, which I am on quite actively. Facebook, not so much, because I'm trying to get off Facebook because I hate it, because I keep getting banned, basically. Keep talking about boobs and, you know, abuse. Yeah, all of that. They don't like it. So yeah, that's the easiest way. Website, really. Or come to the Goddess Conference and come and meet me in person. So
Yes,
yeah,
come to the Goddess Conference.
come to the Goddess
Conference.
And if anyone wants to know any more about training as a womb witch, as a womb priestess, it's all on the website. Lots of different trainings. And I weave in luminary leadership, which is, we haven't mentioned that at all. Lots of stories about that. Sitting in equal circles, equality, the new way of feminism, the new way, or the new old way, everyone being equal and learning from each other. That's how I like to work. And that's the sort of people I like to work with too.
It's the Avalon way, babe. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening to Angie's sexy stories. See you again.
Bye.